I spent 30 years building the systems that are currently fighting for your attention. And I can tell you that your phone isn't a tool. It's an access point. Every time you pick it up without a specific intent, you are handing the keys to your internal operating system to an algorithm that doesn't care about your sovereignty. It's time we treat your focus like the high-value security asset it actually is. I need to tell you something that most people in tech won't say publicly because it implicates their entire industry, including large portions of my own career. Your phone is an IV drip of someone else's agenda. That's not a metaphor. That's an architectural description of what the device in your pocket was designed to do. Every notification is a vector. Every feed refresh is an injection. Every recommended for you carousel is a payload delivered directly into your decision-making apparatus by an algorithm that has one job: keep you on the platform, not make you smarter, not make you more productive, not make you a better father, a better leader, or a more sovereign man. Keep you on the platform because your attention is the product being sold to advertisers, and the longer you stay, the more inventory they have to sell. I helped build some of these systems, not the social media platforms specifically, but the underlying engagement architectures that every major tech company now uses to monetize human attention. I understand how the targeting works, how the dopamine loops are engineered, how the variable reward schedules are calibrated to mimic slot machine mechanics at a neurological level. And I can tell you, with the authority of someone who's been inside the machine, you are not in a fair fight. You are a biological system running on hardware that hasn't been updated in 200,000 years, going up against a $1 trillion optimization engine that updates its attack surface every 11 minutes. You don't have a phone addiction. You have a security breach. Let me frame this properly. In cybersecurity, we have a term, attack surface. It's the total number of points where an unauthorized user can try to enter or extract data from a system. The goal of any security operation is to minimize the attack surface, reduce the number of doors, lock the ones that remain, and monitor all traffic. Your cognitive attack surface is the total number of points where an external actor can inject information into your decision-making process without your deliberate consent. Your phone is the biggest door. And right now, it's wide open, 24 hours a day with no authentication required. Every morning, before you've even formed your first intentional thought of the day, most of you pick up that device and open a door. You check email, someone else's priorities. You scroll a feed, someone else's narrative. You read a notification, someone else's timeline. And within 90 seconds of waking, before your prefrontal cortex has even fully come online, the agenda for your day has been set. Not by you. By the highest bidder in an attention auction you didn't even know you were participating in. That's not a habit problem. That's an infiltration. Now let me connect this to something bigger. This is where the Drift Diagnostic from my book Breaking the Drift becomes critical. I've talked in other videos about the drift, the slow, silent loss of agency that looks like apathy but is actually a systems failure. The drift doesn't start with laziness. It doesn't start with a lack of goals. It starts with a loss of attentional sovereignty. The man who cannot control his own focus for 60 consecutive minutes has zero structural agency over his life. Zero. He is not the commander of his operation. He is a passenger being driven by whatever signal is loudest at any given moment. Think about that. If I told you that a CEO couldn't go 60 minutes without an outside party interrupting his decision-making process and injecting new priorities into his workflow, you'd say that company is in crisis. You'd say the CEO has no control over his operation. You'd question whether he's actually running the business or just reacting to incoming fire all day. That's exactly what's happening inside your head. Every time you break focus to check a notification, you're not taking a quick break. You're allowing an unvetted external actor to interrupt the commander's decision cycle and redirect cognitive resources to their agenda. The research on this is unambiguous. Every context switch, every time you shift from the task you're working on to the notification that just buzzed, costs you between 15 and 23 minutes of recovered focus, not the 10 seconds it takes to glance at the screen. 15 to 23 minutes to return to the same depth of cognitive processing you were at before the interruption. If you get interrupted 6 times in an hour, and most people get interrupted far more than that, you are spending your entire working day in a state of shallow cognition, never getting deep, never reaching the layer of thought where actual creative work, strategic thinking, and real problem solving happen. You're skimming the surface of your own mind all day and wondering why nothing substantive gets built. That's the cost. Not in some abstract philosophical sense. In architecturally measurable cognitive output. Your best thinking requires depth. Depth requires uninterrupted time. And your phone is specifically, deliberately, algorithmically designed to make uninterrupted time impossible. I want to make this personal for a second. Think about the last genuinely original idea you had. Not a reaction to someone else's content. Not a clever response in a group chat. An actual novel idea that emerged from your own processing. When was it? If you can't remember, that's not a memory problem. That's a bandwidth problem. Your cognitive architecture is so saturated with incoming signal that it has no cycles left for original computation. You're running at 100% CPU utilization on other people's processes, and you're wondering why your own applications keep crashing. I had a mentee last year, sharp guy, ran a consulting firm, made good money, who told me he hadn't had a new business idea in over 2 years. 2 years. He consumed 4 hours of content per day. Podcasts during workouts, news during breakfast, YouTube during lunch, social media and every gap between tasks. His mind was never offline, never idle. And idle, in the computational sense, isn't laziness. Idle is when the processor runs background optimization, defragments storage, and surfaces cached results from deep memory. His system never got to idle, so it never optimized. It just kept ingesting, reacting, ingesting, reacting. A perpetual input loop with no processing cycle. 3 weeks into the analog anchor, he called me and said he'd mapped out an entire new service line on a piece of paper during his Tuesday morning hour. Not because I taught him anything new, because I gave his brain permission to finish a thought for the first time in 24 months. So here's the protocol. I call it the analog anchor, and it's the foundation of cognitive security from my book, Fortress of the Mind. 1 hour, every day, 0 input. No phone, no screens, no podcasts, no music, no audiobooks, no news, no people, unless you're in a deliberate, structured conversation. Just you, a pen, a piece of paper, and the sound of your own unmediated cognition. I can already hear the objections. An hour? I don't have an hour. Yes, you do. You spent an average of 3 hours and 47 minutes on your phone yesterday. I know this because that's the national average for adult men, and unless you're a statistical outlier, it's roughly accurate for you. You have the time. What you don't have is the willingness to sit with yourself for 60 minutes without an external stimulus telling you what to think about. And that unwillingness is the diagnostic. If the idea of 1 hour without input makes you anxious, that anxiety is your system telling you exactly how dependent you've become on the drip. The discomfort is the evidence. Let me tell you what happens during the analog anchor hour, because it's not nothing. It's not meditation. I'm not asking you to clear your mind or find your center or achieve some state of transcendence. That's wellness language, and we're not doing wellness here. We're doing security. The first 15 minutes are garbage. Your brain will throw everything at you. To-do lists, worries, random song lyrics, fragments of arguments you had 3 years ago. The urge to check your phone will be physical. Your hand will actually move toward your pocket. That's the withdrawal response. The dopamine system you've been feeding every 11 minutes for the last decade is throwing a tantrum because the supply has been cut. Let it. Don't fight it. Don't try to be present. Just sit there and let the noise run. By minute 20, the noise starts to thin, not disappear, thin. The volume drops. The urgency fades. Your breathing slows without you deciding to slow it. Your shoulders drop. And something starts to happen that hasn't happened in months, maybe years. You start to have your own thoughts. Not reactions to someone else's content. Not responses to notifications. Not the recycled opinions of the last podcast you listened to. Your thoughts. The ones that come from the specific configuration of experience, intelligence, and values that make you a unique cognitive system. Those thoughts have been buried under the noise for so long that most men don't even know they still exist. By minute 40, if you've actually maintained zero input, you'll start getting signal, ideas, connections between problems you've been trying to solve, clarity about a decision you've been avoiding. The thing you've been too busy to figure out will start to resolve itself, not because you're working on it, but because you've finally given your subconscious processing architecture the bandwidth to surface its conclusions. Your brain has been trying to hand you this information for weeks. It couldn't, because every 11 minutes you interrupted it with someone else's agenda. By minute 60, you'll have something on that piece of paper. Maybe it's a strategy, maybe it's a decision, maybe it's a single sentence that reframes a problem you've been grinding on for a month. Whatever it is, it came from you, not from an algorithm, not from a guru, not from the comment section, from the one source of intelligence you've been systematically starving, your own uninterrupted mind. That's the inner citadel, the place inside your cognitive architecture that no external system can reach if you defend it properly. Every man has one. Almost no one protects it. The analog anchor is the defense protocol. Now here's why this requires a physical base. This is from my book, The Stronghold, from my framework. You can't run the analog anchor in a Starbucks. Can't run it in an open plan office. Can't run it in a house where your phone is in the next room buzzing on a counter. You need a physical space where the digital world cannot reach you. A room with the phone locked in a drawer in another part of the house. A garage with no Wi-Fi. A park bench far enough from your car that walking back to get your phone would break the session. The physical environment is part of the security architecture. If the access point is within arm's reach, the breach will happen. Not because you're weak, because the system you're defending against is stronger than your willpower on any given Tuesday. I'll tell you what my setup looks like, because abstraction is useless without implementation. I have a room in my house with a desk, a chair, a window, and nothing else. No television, no smart speaker, no laptop. The phone goes in a lockbox in the kitchen before I walk in. The lockbox isn't a metaphor. It's a physical container with a timer lock. I set it for 70 minutes, 60 for the session plus 10 for buffer. And the box literally will not open until the timer expires. I didn't trust my own discipline on this, and neither should you. Willpower is a depletable resource. Architecture is permanent. So I removed the decision from the equation entirely. The box is locked. The phone is inaccessible. The session happens every day. If you don't have a dedicated room, use your car. Park somewhere quiet, leave the phone in the glove compartment, and sit with a legal pad. If you don't have a car, find a park bench. The specifics don't matter as much as the principle. Create a physical gap between yourself and the access point that requires deliberate effort to close. The friction is the feature. Every second of inconvenience between you and your phone is a second where your prefrontal cortex gets a vote before the dopamine system overrides it. This is where the analog anchor connects to everything else in the Sovereignty OS. The hour of zero input is where the commander actually does his strategic thinking. It's where you review the outputs of your synthetic departments without being interrupted. It's where you run the vetting gauntlet on a new relationship without the noise of social media telling you how to feel about it. It's where you calculate your asymmetric bets without a feed full of other people's highlight reels distorting your risk assessment. It's where you audit your promises kept ratio from the Sunday audit with actual clarity instead of the foggy half attention you bring to everything else. Every other protocol in the system works better when the commander's cognition is clean. And the analog anchor is how you keep it clean. I've been running this protocol for 3 years. Every single day, I haven't missed a day in over 1,100 sessions. And I can tell you the compound effect is staggering. My decision quality has improved measurably. Fewer reversals, faster resolution, less second guessing. My creative output has increased because I'm no longer competing with the noise for access to my own ideas. My stress levels have dropped, not because I'm doing less, but because the cognitive load of constant context switching has been eliminated for at least 1 hour of every day. And the people around me have noticed. My team, my synthetic team, and the human collaborators I work with all report that my directives are cleaner, my feedback is sharper, and my strategic calls land faster. That's not because I became smarter in 3 years. It's because I stopped letting trillion-dollar algorithms steal the cognitive bandwidth I needed to use the intelligence I already had. So here's the challenge. And I'm not framing this as optional. If you're using the Sovereignty OS, if you're running the protocols I teach, the 90-day OS, the vetting gauntlet, the 10-bed experiment, the synthetic departments, and none of it works at full capacity if the commander's focus is compromised. The analog anchor isn't a nice to have. It's the security layer that protects everything above it. 7 days, starting tomorrow. 1 hour of zero input per day. No phone, no screens, no audio, no people, unless it's a structured conversation. Pen and paper only. Same time every day. Morning is best before the digital world, gets its hooks in. But any consistent time works. Track it the way you track your promises kept ratio. Binary. You either did it or you didn't. After 7 days, assess. What changed in your thinking? What surfaced that hadn't surfaced before? What decisions got clearer? What noise disappeared? If the answer is nothing, you weren't doing it right. You were still running background processes, still mentally checking the feed, still letting the drip continue through the IV of your own rumination. Try again. Do it harder. Defend the citadel. And if the answer is something shifted, which it will be for every man who actually commits, then you've found the one protocol that makes every other protocol work. Protect it. Expand it. Build your entire operating rhythm around it. Because a man who can think clearly for one uninterrupted hour is more dangerous than a man who grinds for 12 distracted ones. And in the fourth turning, the man who controls his own attention is the man who controls his own future. Your phone is an access point. Close the door, defend the citadel, reclaim the signal. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. It keeps the motor running. And if you'd like to learn more, check out my books on Amazon or click the links below.